All right, everybody, welcome back. We are diving deep today, and
This big one.
it is a big one. So this is a Supreme Court case that is dealing with transgender health care, specifically Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for minors. And we've got a lot of different stuff to look at here. We've got legal analysis, we've got news reports, we've even got some social media posts that are kind of buzzing about this. So
It'd
uh,
be interesting.
it should be. It should be. And it's a sensitive topic,
Absolutely.
and we're gonna do our best to kind of wade through all this and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So first of all, maybe just kind of at the very top level, can you give us an idea of what we're talking about when we say gender-affirming care? What does that actually look like?
Sure. So, gender affirming care can include a range of different medical treatments and therapies, but generally it refers to any treatment that helps a transgender person align their physical characteristics with their gender identity. So, that can include things like hormone therapy, it can include puberty blockers. In some cases, it might include surgery. And it's really important to note that this is all carefully tailored to the individual's needs and their age. So we're not talking about like a one-size-fits-all approach here.
Right. And it's that care for minors, specifically,
Yeah,
the Tennessee law bans, right?
that's right.
So what's the kind of rationale behind the ban? What are they saying? Why are they doing this?
Yeah. Well, they're focusing on a couple of key points. One is protecting children. They argue that these treatments could have long-term health risks that we don't fully understand yet. And they say they're acting in the best interest of children to kind of prevent them from making decisions that they might regret later. The second big argument is about states' rights to regulate medicine. They're saying that they have the authority to determine which medical practices are appropriate within their borders. And,
So it's interesting, though, because they're not saying minors can't have any medical procedures.
right.
They're specifically saying that this category of care
Yeah,
is what they're banning.
exactly. And that's where it gets tricky because, there are lots of medical procedures that minors undergo that carry risks and benefits. And so the question becomes, where do we draw that line? What gives the state the authority to step in and say this specific procedure is off limits?
Yeah.
You know?
Right, right. So it's really about this question of, parental rights versus the government's role in healthcare. Where do we draw that line? Which I think is a really big theme that we see coming up over and over again. And it's interesting because the early analysis from what we're reading suggests that the Supreme Court's conservative majority is probably going to uphold the ban.
Seems that way. Yeah.
And then there's this comment from Chief Justice Roberts that I think is really, really notable, where he's talking about leaving these types of decisions to state legislatures. He's not making a ruling, but he's just saying, maybe this is something that the state should decide. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it's significant because it points to a broader trend that we're seeing with this court. A greater willingness to defer to state authority, even on issues that have national implications. And, if they uphold this ban, it could embolden other states to follow suit. And we could end up with this patchwork of laws across the country where access to gender-affirming care really depends on where you live.
So it's a real concern. So, okay, we've talked about Tennessee's side of this. What about the people who are challenging the ban? What are they saying? What are their key points?
Well, their main argument centers on the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. And, this is a bedrock principle of our legal system. It basically says that states can't deny people equal protection of the laws. And, to understand the power of the Equal Protection Clause, just think about Brown versus Board of Education.
Right, landmark.
Yeah. That decision was fundamentally about equal protection, the idea that separate but equal is inherently unequal. And in this case, the challengers are saying that Tennessee's ban singles out transgender minors for different treatment. And they're saying it's based solely on their gender identity and that this is a violation of their equal protection rights.
So they're saying, look, you're allowing other procedures. You're allowing other medical interventions for minors that may have similar or even greater risks. But you're saying that this particular one is off limits. And that is discrimination.
Precisely.
Yeah. Interesting. And we should also mention that the Biden administration is weighing in on this as well.
They are.
The Solicitor General is actually arguing against the ban, which I think tells you a lot about where the federal government stands on this issue.
Absolutely. I mean, it signals that they see this as a really important civil rights case. And they're not just sitting on the sidelines here.
Right. So it sounds like this case has the potential to set a major precedent, not only for healthcare, but for transgender rights as a whole.
I think so. It's about so much more than just medical procedures. It really gets to the heart of how we view and treat transgender people in our society. It's about equality, it's about individual rights, it's about the role of science in our laws. It's really a landmark case.
Yeah. And I think the big question that it raises, even though it's focused on minors, is where does the government's interest in protecting citizens, sort of bump up against individual and parental rights, especially when it comes to healthcare? And that's something that we all need to be thinking about, no matter where we stand on this particular issue.
Absolutely. It's a question for all of us.
All right. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for
Of course.
breaking this down for us. And for everybody listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We will see you next time.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.